Check 1, 2. There we go. Now you have audio. Sorry about it, folks. You just have to. Why is the camera off now? Why am I back to my stupid webcam camera, my stupid laptop camera? So I got to change that. Really sorry about this, folks, because you missed a heck of a first couple segments. Let's see. There we are. Now let's zoom in and see if we can get everybody all set with where we are. I think we're good. All right, that's about the 15-minute mark. I'll shut that off. Okay, so are we all good now on Facebook and YouTube? Yeah, we are good. Okay, sorry, guys. Sorry. That's never been an issue before. Okay, so I was back to the balance, back to the fact that they have a very impressive NCAA tournament resume, but I haven't changed my opinion that they are beatable on any night when they don't have attention to detail. The great thing is, with Dwayne Washington commenting in the postgame about how accountable this team is to each other and how supportive it is of each other, I don't fear so much them going to sleep. They might lose because they just have an off night. And they have a brutal closing stretch. At Maryland Monday, they got Indiana in there. They got to finish with at Michigan State. They got Iowa and Illinois coming to Columbus. And again, it's a neutral site game, and having beaten Iowa and Illinois before, both those teams are going to be trying very hard to atone for those earlier losses. But right now, it's extremely impressive to watch what they have done. And I'll have a little bit more for you on why they're doing what they're doing. But first, a reminder that if you ever need an attorney, that's a really bad time to look for one because you're desperate. And any choice I've made in my life quickly, it's about a 50-50 on whether I chose wisely. So right now, the reason I bring up Willis Spangler Starling every week is because I'm just planting a seed in your mind that they are a full-service law firm, that they're a place where you'll go in and feel comfortable in their offices. It's not some big, huge high-rise. It's not a bunch of stuffy people, neckties and business suits and power, all this and that. They're just good folks. But boy, do they know the law. Boy, do they do their job well. A lot of their cases are flat fee cases or contingency cases. Some are not, because a complex thing like maybe workers' comp or some other things may take a lot of time, and there's no way to be fair to you in giving you a cost up front. I'm just guessing on whether it's workers' comp. But there's some cases that they're just so open-ended you don't know. But a lot of their cases, you don't have to be shy about asking. Is this a flat fee case? Is this a contingency case? But I've known the partners for a long time. I know how honest they are, how much integrity they have, and how gifted they are. They've done legal work for me. I steer my best friends to Willis Spangler Starling. That should tell you something. So you can find them on the web, willisattorneys.com, willisattorneys.com. Their Twitter site is fun to follow because they have a lot of fun with it, and they post their informative blogs and videos. That is at Spangler Willis. But their website is willisattorneys.com, willisattorneys.com. All right. A couple of podcasts ago, maybe just one podcast ago, I gloated over the struggles of the Indiana basketball program and how they're souring rapidly on Archie Miller. Now, I will be very honest with you. When Indiana got Archie Miller and Ohio State ended up with Chris Holtmann, I was not happy because I thought Archie Miller did a phenomenal job at Dayton. Dayton's right under my nose. I was very familiar with Dayton. Butler is not right under my nose. And Archie Miller's been here before. I wanted Archie Miller. Well, Indiana already hired Archie Miller by the time Gene Smith got around to letting Thad go essentially in the summer because Ohio State's recruiting was falling apart. And for a while, it looked like Ohio State was going to end up with Greg McDermott from Creighton. Wasn't impressed with that. He'd failed at Iowa State. If he failed at Iowa State, how was he going to succeed at Ohio State? I know he's had some success at Creighton, but he just didn't excite me. So then they landed on Chris Holtmann. They kind of had to talk Holtmann into taking the job. He loved Butler, which that's good because you want a guy, once you have him and once he's doing a good job, you want a guy who loves where he is and sees the merits of where he is versus always scanning the horizon for the next better job, bigger job. But I just thought Indiana got the better end of that trade because I knew Archie Miller. I knew what he could do. I saw him coach Dayton over Ohio State in the NCAA tournament, and I was like, oh, crap. You know how much I hate Indiana basketball. Now they got Archie Miller for the next 25 years. He's going to be sticking it in our faces. Well, I was wrong. I was way wrong. Wrong. Almost as wrong on this as I was when I said the Browns drafted a Hall of Fame running back in Trent Richardson. See, I'm not averse to confessing my whiffs. The Richardson thing was a whiff, and the Chris Holtmann, I would rather have Archie Miller thing was a huge whiff, because Indiana's doing under Archie Miller what I thought they would do recruiting-wise. They're getting a lot of big-name guys. I was not happy when they got Jerome Hunter out of Pickerington, and Ohio State did not get him, because I watched Hunter in a state tournament, and I'm like, wow, is he good? Well, Jerome Hunter went to Indiana, and he had a redshirt with an injury his first year, and now he's back playing, and, well, he's not really back playing. He's on the shelf, coach's decision. And this is goofy. A couple weeks ago, Jerome Hunter was given some golden jersey award for working hard in practice, and now Jerome Hunter's not dressing because Archie Miller says, it's my decision totally. When he shows the right attitude, he'll get back out there. Okay, so why do I bring this up? Because Jerome Hunter had all the accolades in high school and all this stuff. Central Ohio kid, can't let that kid get away. And Ohio State, I don't know, they're not on the same recruiting cycle. Nobody was excited. Everybody was excited when Ohio State got Carton and Gaffney. Everybody. And E.J. Liddell. Well, Carton, good player, but he left. I'll just leave it there, why he left. E.J. Liddell, really good player, as advertised. Alonzo Gaffney, not a good player. And not a good player, okay? So he's gone. And now Ohio State this past year, with Carton and Gaffney leaving, top 75 guys. Ooh, we got to go out and got to get great guys. Well, we get Zed Key and Eugene Brown. Nobody ever heard of these guys. Who's Zed Key? Who's Gene Brown? How good's Zed Key going to be? Oh, excuse me. How good is Zed Key? Like, Zed Key is 6'8", like, what is he, 250? He has banged against Kofi Coburn. He has banged against Luka Garza. He has banged against Wisconsin's nameless, faceless 7-footer. Zed Key is going to be a problem for other teams in the Big Ten for the duration of his career, and his career is going to last 3 more years after this one. But he's not an early entry NBA guy. I don't know if E.J. Liddell's an early entry NBA guy, because he's got to learn to put it on the floor at his height to score in the NBA. Justice Suing is going to be back next year. Seth Town's going to presumably be healthier next year, and presumably more consistent, and presumably better. Michi Johnson, you like what you see out of him? So the whole Holtmann can't recruit thing, out the window, bye-bye, fly away, go away. I don't want to hear it anymore, because he knows what kind of player he wants. And once he gets that player, he coaches to get the maximum out of them. So I repent of my lusting after Archie Miller years ago, and I am so happy. In fact, I posted on Twitter last night that I don't often say anything nice about Indiana basketball. But thank you for hiring Archie Miller before we fired Thad, so that we were not tempted to hire Archie Miller and instead wound up with Chris Holtmann. Phenomenal coach. If you want to ask me what's the commonality between winning at Illinois, winning at Wisconsin, winning at Iowa, 3 places I thought for sure would be L's, the reason they won those games, he'll tell you it's players win games. And, of course, players win games because coaches can't dribble and shoot. But Chris Holtmann won those games by deploying his talent in such a way and defending the other team. Fran McCaffrey has a nice team at Iowa. I don't know why Iowa sticks with Fran McCaffrey. Fran McCaffrey wins enough to not get fired. He's a tempter. He gets good players in there, and they look good for a while, and you think all these possibilities are going to be there. And he's never, ever been able to coach a lick of defense. And any team that's just going to outscore you, they're going to have a good record. They're going to get in the tournament. They're going to look fantastic like world beaters some night, but eventually there's going to be a night where the shots don't go down. Or the other team makes shots at opportune times, like last night. And what happened is going to happen. And it's interesting to listen to McCaffrey after a game when I ask him about Luka Garza. 26-point a game, Luka Garza. Luka Garza scored his last basket, his last point last night with 14:35 to go. He had 16 points. It ties his season low. Ohio State doesn't have a guy over 6'8" guarding him. Kyle Young frustrated him with quickness. Zed Key, not afraid to bang with anybody. He banged with Coburn. He banged with Garza. And after the game, Fran McCaffrey had the temerity to say, well, they were pretty physical with it. Like Luka Garza isn't physical with everybody. Luka Garza is a beast, and I mean that in a complimentary way, but he has a profile, a star profile, that allows him to get away with stuff that Caleb Wesson could never get away with. If they called fouls on Luka Garza the way they called fouls on Caleb Wesson for contact, Luka Garza would play 6 minutes a game. So for Fran McCaffrey to insinuate that Ohio State got away with something against Garza, he's elbowing E.J. Liddell in the head to score a layup, nothing called. He's spinning on picks out front. That's a moving screen, not called. So Luka Garza gets way more calls than he doesn't get. But McCaffrey's a sore loser, and he got beat by a better team, and more importantly, he got beat by a better coach. And right now in the Big Ten, it is very hard to find somebody who this year is coaching better than Chris Holtmann. Nobody is coaching better than Chris Holtmann. Brad Underwood at Illinois has better talent. Wisconsin doesn't have better talent, but they're a team with less holes because they have size and they have shooting and they have all the things that Ohio State has. The one edge Wisconsin has over Ohio State is that they have size. Ohio State doesn't have size. They don't have a center. So Holtmann finds a way. They out-rebounded Iowa, which is crazy that they out-rebounded Iowa. So I'm really impressed with Holtmann and the job that he has done and the job he continues to do. And I hate to sound like a fanboy, but when a guy does a good job, I'm not averse to saying he's doing a good job, and Holtmann is doing a great job. So that's my take on Ohio State basketball. They're off this weekend. They play Maryland Monday night, and that'll be another nail-biter because we all remember the Mark Turgeon, Chris Holtmann tete-a-tete last year over Wesson getting away with stuff in the post and Ohio State knocking off Maryland at Value City Arena in a very close, emotional game. E.J. Liddell big in that game? He was big against Illinois. But at any rate, so it'll be interesting to see Turgeon and Fran McCaffrey are the vice president and president of the Whiners Club. Big-time whiners, both of them. And that's just not a game Chris Holtmann engages in. So we'll see how this goes Monday night at Maryland. But they've got 4 wins right now on the road that I didn't think they'd have, and they're the first team in Ohio State history to beat 4 top 15 teams on the road in the same season. Again, mitigated by the fact that there are no fans. Okay, one more. I want to do a tribute to my friend Les Levine, who passed away yesterday. Well, actually, the evening of Wednesday. First, a reminder, Hemisphere Coffee Roasters offers Spielman and Hooley. That's a Freudian mental tick. They offer We Tackle Life podcast listeners 15% off when you use the promo code We Tackle Life in all caps. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters was the first sponsor of the podcast, the first to believe in us. It happened organically. They listened to the podcast. They really liked it. They reached out. I went over to see what they were about. Loved their mission, the fact that they buy their coffee direct from growers around the world. Seems to me like if you're going to sell coffee, the best coffee comes from other climates where the climate is ideally determined to grow coffee. So that's a good business model. But they went beyond that. Paul Kurtz, the owner and founder of Hemisphere Coffee Roasters, was a former missionary in foreign countries. And he noticed that if they did all the work in a village, they'd leave and the work would deteriorate. So he wondered about, what if I paired my love for coffee with my love for people and disadvantaged people economically, and we just bought their coffee, paid them more than they get from their government, eliminate the middleman so the coffee grower actually gets the money, and then that coffee grower would use it in his own village. Well, it's been a phenomenal experience and phenomenal results, and you still end up with great coffee. So there you go. HemisphereCoffeeRoasters.com. 15% off. Use the promo code all caps We Tackle Life. I was very sad, surprised Thursday morning to find on Twitter that my dear friend, Les Levine, had passed away. I knew Les was struggling with Parkinson's, but I continued to see that his show had been on Cleveland.com, and I did not know that the end of Les's life was imminent. I send my deepest condolences to his family and to his children, one of whom I had the pleasure of having lunch with Les one time, and he was a delightful young man. And Les was so proud of his kids. Les is, the word legend gets overused, but in the local Cleveland market, Les Levine was a media legend and a media giant. When you do radio, broadcast, play-by-play, television, and have the depth of knowledge and experience and the humor and insight that Les Levine had, you are a rare commodity. No one ever questioned Les's love for Cleveland teams doing well, but Les managed to walk that line in a way that he had enormous credibility on his analysis of those teams. He was a guy who rooted for the home team and wanted the home team to win, but he wasn't a homer. He wasn't blind to the organizations, whether it's Browns, Cavs, Indians. He wasn't blind to their flaws. When I went to Cleveland to work for WKNR in 2011, I ran into Les at the MAC basketball tournament, and Les frequently played golf. Actually, I should back up. I met Les, I think, in the first summer that I was there through mutual friends, Tony Grossi and Bud Shaw. They played golf with Les frequently, and they were kind enough to bring me into their foursome, and we played frequently courses around Cleveland together. Les was always the star of any foursome he was in, because while his legacy in sports is enormous, Les's legacy in life is that he was able to relate to anyone and would be able to make anyone laugh. And I can't think of very many other legacies anyone could leave behind in earthly terms than they enrich people's lives with laughter. Les enriched my life with laughter. He had such a quick wit, and it is very appropriate that the people who remember Les remember him for his humorous, dry, droll way of delivering humor. Les is the originator of something called a How Come Quickie, which he would take calls on Cleveland radio about a How Come Quickie. And, I can't even think of some of Les's better How Come Quickies, but an example of a How Come Quickie would be, why do they call it a boxing ring when it's not a ring, it's a square? That kind of thing. Les's were always far more funny than that, far more thought-provoking than that. Les also had a way of quickly responding to people who would call his show when I was on it, and everyone was on it, and they'd go, "Hey, Les, great show." And he'd go, "Today?" Which is just, that's funny. And at the end of every show, he would sign off with, "Of all the shows I've ever done, this is the most recent." Again, that droll sense of humor. I could go on and on and on about the unique phrasing and quips that make Les Levine singularly unique. But I got to tell you, the personal side of it was that Les did a show in Cleveland about Cleveland sports on television. More Sports with Les Levine. Great title for a show. And I came to Cleveland, and I missed my family. They lived in Central Ohio, and I wanted to get back to Central Ohio. And Les said to me, "Why don't you do in Columbus what I'm doing in Cleveland? Do a show about Columbus sports and Ohio sports based out of Time Warner in Columbus." And that appealed to me. I thought that'd be fun. And I was inspired by Les being able to do it and make a living doing that in Cleveland. And so here's Les Levine, who is setting up another person that he really at that time didn't know very well, with an opportunity to engage in an endeavor that really could not have helped him in any way. All that could have done by establishing me in Columbus was potentially hurt his brand, because my show would be broadcast statewide. I had more access to Ohio State than Les did. He had access to pro teams that I wouldn't have. But Les's show pulled from some statewide sponsors: McDonald's, Ohio Lottery, Elk and Elk. And I always thought it was remarkable that Les never calculated in his own mind, or if he did, he never let it stop him advocating for me to get the same kind of an opportunity with Time Warner that he had through his own hard work, creativity, and perseverance created for himself. And I just thought that was an amazing extension of kindness to me, courtesy. And it was certainly not anything that Les Levine was compelled to do, but he did it out of a heart filled with goodness and compassion for someone who he knew wanted to get home and live life with his wife and children more than 2 days a week. And I will always cherish my friendship with Les Levine for that kindness to me and to my wife and kids. It didn't work out that I was able to do my show in Columbus on Time Warner with the success that Les had, which doesn't surprise me because Les was so much more talented than I was or am. And but it still enabled me to have a show that paid me some really good money on the side, in addition to my job at KNR, that didn't interfere with my job at KNR. And I haven't sat down to write out all the different tentacles of people that I've met and relationships that I've cultivated and things that we benefited from as a family because of that show that I had on Time Warner for 4 years. But I need to do that because it'll give me a fuller measurement of the impact that Les Levine made on my life and on my family's life. And so I am I'm deeply saddened by his loss. And I am I'm struck by what a wonderful man he was. And so my deepest sympathies go to his family and to all the people in Cleveland who love him for his work and will miss him. Because really, here's a real honest assessment. When I pass away, I'll have some people who will miss me and say great things about me. The people who have consumed my content over the years on radio and television and newspapers will not feel a fraction of the regret that they'll no longer hear from me like is appropriate right now in the widespread sense of personal loss that so many people in Cleveland and who knew Les feel upon his passing. It is remarkable to me that Les could serve in a market as long as he did and be as beloved as he is and always will be. I don't have that gift. I am not that kind of guy. I am not. And I have great admiration for Les being able to do his job with distinction. And what a great loss that is for us who like to laugh. Thank you, Les. I'll miss you very much. With that, I will transition into the faith portion of the podcast. You can always send me an email. Bruce, no, that's my work email. I need an answer. Send me an email, spielmanhooleypodcast@gmail.com. post a review on iTunes. That would be greatly appreciated. And let me know what you think of the podcast. I had a thought to change the name, and then I had several people say, no, keep We Tackle Life, because the we can be you and us. And so I've kept We Tackle Life. Just your thoughts on the content, podcast, and all that. All right, I'm pretty close to the length of time that I like to keep these, 45 minutes or so you can listen to them during a workout. So the faith portion today, you know, my routine is to read Proverbs every day, the book of Proverbs, not the entire book, not all 31 chapters, but I read a chapter that corresponds to the date of the month. A lot of times today's the 5th, so I'll read the Proverbs 5, but I'll also go back and refresh my memory with Proverbs 4, maybe 3 and 4. And then sometimes I'll just leaf ahead and look ahead, and verses that I've outlined, which are a lot, jump out at me. And a verse, because we lost Les, because this morning I got a call that our neighbor passed away. This verse jumped out at me today. Proverbs 27:20. I'm sorry. Proverbs 27:12. 27:12. The prudent see danger and take refuge. The simple keep going and suffer for it. And I got to thinking about seeing danger, viewing things, evaluating things, making sound judgments. If you see danger and you avoid it, take refuge, that's great. If you are simple, you don't see danger coming, you suffer for it. So I wrote in my journal, when you see danger, do you recognize it? And when you recognize it, do you look away? And I thought of my father. My father, unbeknownst to me, smoked when I was a kid. He smoked until I was 9 years old. I never saw it, but my other brothers saw it. So this is about somewhere 70s, somewhere in there. And he quit smoking. And I asked him one time, why'd you quit? Well, what enabled you to quit? And he said one night he was at work in a factory, I think Excello Corporation in Lima. And he went to light a cigarette. And a friend of his said, that cigarette has more power than you do. And my dad looked at him. He's like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, it can't pick itself up and light it and stick itself in your mouth. So it has more power than you do because it's drawing you, it's luring you to light it and smoke it. And that so ticked my dad off at himself, at his personal failings, that he quit on the spot and never smoked another one. And that's indicative of changes in our life. We change, whether it's losing weight, whether it's breaking off a bad friendship, a bad relationship, changing jobs. Whenever we make a giant change in our life, whenever we purpose to change, we change, we are motivated to change because the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of changing. Like right now, I'm going to drop 30 pounds. Trust me, I am. I've done it before. I'll do it again because I gained a bunch of weight during the pandemic that I don't want. My doctor says I should lose 10. I think I should lose 25. So I'm going to lose 30. I'm going to be down to 175 by summer. Because the pain of staying the same, feeling like my back hurts, my feet hurt, my knees hurt. I want to walk golf courses this summer. I want to fit into my golf clothes with a little bit of baggy left in the waistband. And if I don't lose weight, that's not going to happen. And I don't want to go buy other clothes, and I don't want to be fat, and I don't want to be tired. So the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of changing. So I'm disciplining myself dietarily and exercise-wise. So this is what change is about, is deciding, purposing that we're going to do it. In Acts 14:9, Paul, the Apostle Paul, healed a lame man who was listening to him speak. And the Bible says Paul, quote, saw that the man had the faith to be healed. I thought that was really interesting. So Paul saw that the man had faith to be healed, that he was ready for that mammoth change in his life. So the healing didn't depend on Paul doing whatever the apostles did when they healed someone. The healing depended upon that man having the faith to accept it. And how many times did Jesus say, your faith has made you well? He never said, my power makes you well. He said, your faith has made you well. So I just want to stress that having faith is a purposeful decision. I made the comment the other day on my radio show that people, and I think I made the same comment here on the podcast, that we think that we have to see and understand fully before we can have faith. You don't. You have to trust it, though. You have to decide in your mind that is true. I am not good enough to qualify for heaven on my own merits. No one is. There's nothing special or inherent about my nastiness, my awfulness, my unacceptability. I share it with all of humankind. But God's provided a way for me to be saved through Christ. And I might not feel it right now, but I want it. That's what I want. And the pain of staying the same, lost, uncertain about my future, exceeds my desire to change and be a different person in Jesus. And so I'd encourage you to examine yourself and ask yourself, is the pain of staying the same less than the pain of changing? What do you have to lose by accepting Christ and testing him and seeing if he will draw you to himself by injecting his spirit into you and enlightening you as to the truth of Scripture? So that will do it for this week. We'll be back Monday with a recap of Super Bowl, 50-something. I had to enter a contest at work for Pick the Score. I'm picking Tampa because I figure everyone else will pick Kansas City. And I'm picking Tampa 26-24. And I actually was surprised the number of ESPN experts who are picking Tampa. So maybe I'll win a $25 gift card. I would prefer to see Tampa win. I would prefer to see Tom Brady win a 7th Super Bowl. I love seeing greatness. And Brady is great. And I hope they win. So we'll talk about that on Monday. We'll set up Ohio State's game against Maryland. I hope you have a great weekend. And I appreciate your time very much. Listening to this podcast takes time, and your time's a gift to me. So thank you. Talk to you Monday. Have a great weekend.